The Heinkel He 219A was a night fighter that served with the German Luftwaffe in the later stages of World War II. A relatively sophisticated design, the He 219 possessed a variety of innovations, including an advanced VHF-band intercept radar, itself also used on the Ju-88G and Bf-110G night fighters. It was also the first operational military aircraft in the world to be equipped with ejection seats, and the first operational German World War II-era aircraft with tricycle landing gear. Had the A been available in quantity, it might have had a significant effect on the strategic night bombing offensive of the Royal Air Force. But only 294 of all models were built by the end of the war, and these saw only limited service. Design and development and production of the He 219 was protracted and tortuous, due to political rivalries between Joseph Kammhuber, commander of the German night fighter forces, Ernst Heinkel, the manufacturer, and Erhard Milch, responsible for aircraft construction in the Reichsluftfahrtministerium. The aircraft was also complicated and expensive to build. These factors further limited the number of aircraft produced. When engineer Robert Lusser returned to Heinkel from Messerschmitt, he began work on a new high-speed bomber project called Pages 1055. This was an advanced design with a pressurized cockpit, twin ejection seats, tricycle landing gear, and remotely controlled defensive gun turrets similar to those used by the Messerschmitt Me 210. Power was to be provided by two DB610 coupled engines then under development, weighing on the order of about 1-1/2 tons apiece, producing each, delivering excellent performance with a top speed of approximately 750 km/h and a 4,000 km range with a 2,000 kg bomb load. The RLM rejected the design in August 1940 as too complex and risky. Lusser quickly offered four versions of the fighter with various wingspans and engine choices in order to balance the performance and risk. At the same time, he offered the Pages 1056 dedicated night fighter with 420 cannons in the wings and fuselage. The RLM rejected all of these on the same grounds in 1941. Heinkel was furious and fired Lusser on the spot. About the same time as Lusser was designing the Pages 1055, Kammhuber had started looking for a dedicated aircraft for his rapidly growing night fighter force. Heinkel quickly redesigned the Pages 1055 for this role as the Pages 1060. This design was similar in layout, but somewhat smaller and powered by two of the largest displacement liquid-cooled aviation engines placed in mass production in Germany, the DB603 inverted V12 engine, using annular radiators similar to the ones on the Jumo 211 powered Junkers Ju-88A but considerably more streamlined in appearance. This engine was not known for its altitude performance, which was a problem for Heinkel's short-winged design, but Daimler offered a new G version then under development to address the issue. Heinkel was sure he had a winner and sent the design off to the RLM in January 1942 while he funded the first prototype himself. Nevertheless, the RLM again rejected the He 219 in favor of new Ju-88 and Me 210 based designs. Construction of the prototype started in February 1942 but suffered a serious setback in March, when Daimler said that the DB603G engine would not be ready in time. Instead, they would deliver a 603A engine with a new gear ratio to the propellers, with the new designation DB603C, and offering the choice of using four-blade propellers as the similarly powered FW-190C high-altitude fighters prototypes were already starting to use into early 1943 for their own DB603 installations. For the He 219, however, its DB603 engine allocation did not arrive until August of 1942, and the prototype did not fly until November 6, 1942. When Kammhuber saw the prototype on the 19th, he was so impressed he immediately ordered it into production over Milch's objections. Milch, who had rejected the He 219 in January, was enraged. Stability problems with the aircraft were noted, but Heinkel overcame these by offering a cash prize to engineers who could correct them. Further changes were made to the armament during the prototype He 219V series airframes development, The dorsal rear defensive guns are mounted atop the fuselage, and firing directly rearward from a fixed, internally mounted, rear-facing dorsal step position at a point just aft of the wing's trailing edge were removed due to their ineffectiveness. The forward firing armament was increased to two 20 cannons in the wing roots, inboard of the propeller arcs to avoid the need for gun synchronizers, with 4 more guns mounted in the ventral tray, which had originally ended in a rearwards-facing step similar to, and located directly under the deleted rear dorsal step. This rearwards-facing feature was also deleted for similar reasons. The AO model also featured a bullet-proof shield that could be raised in the front interior cockpit, hiding the entire bottom portion of the windscreen, providing temporary pilot protection, and leaving a sighting slot by which the gun sight could be aimed at a bomber to accurately fire the main armament. Production prototypes were then ordered as the He-219AO and quickly progressed to the point where V-7, V-8 and V-9 were handed over to operational units in June 1943 for testing. The earlier prototypes, fitted out with 4-blade propellers for at least the first 5 prototypes for their DB603 engines and the quartet of forward-projecting masts for the Matrates 32 dipole radar antennae used with their early UHF-band Liechtenstein radar installation also possessed cockpit canopies that did not smoothly taper on their upper line going from the rear of the pilot's canopy hatch aftwards, but ended in a nearly hemispherical enclosure forming the rear of the canopy glazing, with the installation on the V4 fourth prototype possessing a small degree of internal metal framing in the rearmost canopy glazing, to apparently support a rear dorsal weapons mount, or potentially some sort of sighting gear for the deleted fixed-step mount rearwards firing armament. The idea for both the rear-facing dorsal and ventral step features on the original He-219 fuselage design for armament emplacement locations was later carried into the May 1943 onwards revised fuselage design for what became Heinkel's America bomber design contract competitor, the He-277, as its ultimate design's general arrangement type. Black drawings show the early He-219 V-series steps being inherited by the He-277's revised fuselage design in virtually the same locations on its own fuselage, with the ventral emplacement only moved rearwards by 2 meters to provide space for the He-277's intended 7-meter-long bomb bay. The adopted step locations provided for the America bomber competitor's turreted dorsal and ventral rearwards firing aft fuselage defensive emplacements, with each of the rearwards-facing turrets placed at the position of the step features being armed with a pair of MG 151/20 cannon apiece. Milch repeatedly tried to have the He-219 program permanently shut down, and in the process, Cam Huber was removed from office. Production ceased for a time but was restarted because the new Junkers Ju-388s were taking too long to get into service. Operational history. The He-219 had an auspicious combat debut. On the night of June 12, 1943, Werner Streibe flew the V-9 and shot down 5 bombers between 01:05 and 2:22 hours, before crashing on landing. Claims have been made that, in the next 10 days, the 3 Heinkel He-219AO pre-production aircraft would shoot down a total of 20 RAF aircraft, including 6 of the previously untouchable de Havilland Mosquito fighter bombers. Greatly encouraged, Cam Huber continued to press for immediate production. No record of corresponding Mosquito losses or any documentary evidence exists, however, to suggest that He-219 pilots actually made claims for 6 Mosquitoes during this time. The first major production series was the He-219AO, although initially the pre-production series, it matured into a long-running production series due to numerous changes incorporated into the design, along with the cancellation of several planned variants. Production problems as a result of Allied bombing in March meant the AO did not reach Luftwaffe units until October 1943. The AO were usually armed with 220 MG 151/20 cannon in the wing roots and up to 420 or 30 cannon in a ventral weapons bay. The first 10 to 15 aircraft were delivered with the 490 MHz UHF-band FUG 212 Liechtenstein C1 radar set, complete with its 4x8 dipole element matrix antenna array. A total of 104 He-219A0s were built until the summer of 1944, the majority of them at DHW or Heinkel He in Winchishot. The first planned version to reach production was the He-219A2 model, which had longer engine nacelles containing extra fuel tanks, unitized 1670 picoseconds DB603AA engines with higher critical altitude and often also 230 Mk108 cannons as an offensive recurrency GE Music upward firing system in the rear fuselage. With the recurrency GE Music system installed, the ventral weapons bay was only capable of holding 2 cannon due to space limitations. The A2 featured an updated, 90 MHz VHF-band Telfunken FUG 220 Liechtenstein SN2 radar system, complete with their larger, high-drag 4x2 dipole element Hirschgui aerials. It initially had less range than the C1 radar, but improved accuracy and resolution and was also less vulnerable to chaff jamming through the late summer of 1944. A total of 85 He-219A2s were built until November 1944. The majority of them at DHR or Heinkel Norden Rostock Marine. The He-219 was a capable fighter aircraft, allowing the pilots a large degree of autonomy. Ground control simply sent the aircraft in the right area and then the pilots took over and hunted down the bombers on their own. The SN2 radar's 4 km range was greater than the distance between the bombers. While the performance of the A2 was not extraordinary approximately 580 km/h speed it was enough of an advance over the Messerschmitt Bf-110GS and Dornier Do 217 nanoseconds to allow the aircraft to chase several bombers in one sortie. In order to combat the Mosquito, the He-219 had all excess weight removed. With some weapon and radio systems deleted, the aircraft was able to retain a speed of 650 km/h. This version was given the designation A6. None of these were produced but weight-saving measures could be done at the unit level. The last major production version was the A7 with improved DB603E engines. The A7 was typically outfitted with 220 mm G151/20 cannon in the wing roots, 220 mm G151/20ths in the ventral weapons bay, and 230 mm K108s as recurrency GE Music. The production was to start in November-December 1944 with 210 aircraft ordered. The number produced is not exactly known as the original documents have either been lost or contain no subversion number. Further developments, the follow-on series to the He-219 as in service was to be the He-219B fitted with a new, but very troublesome, 1,864 kW Junkers Jumo 222 Aries per by 24-cylinder engines, a multibank, liquid-cooled inline engine, with 6 rows of cylinder blocks having 4 cylinders each, which would have allowed the He-219 to reach 700 km/h. Each of which were almost the same displacement in their AB and EF versions, and only very slightly heavier pieces compared to the double Wasp radial engines and the American P-61 purpose-built night fighter. The He-219B's wing was also to have had an increased wingspan of 22.06 am for better high-altitude performance. The Jumo 222s did not reach production status however, with just under 300 examples built in 3 differing displacement sizes, and only a test machine or 2 were ever fitted for the engines. Some additional airframes with the enlarged wing were slated to fly with high-altitude versions of the DB603. But again, only 1 or 2 test machines ever flew in that configuration. A further adaptation would have been the He-219C, also intended to use the big wing and Jumo 222 powerplant as well as an all-new fuselage of 17.15 am, with a complete 3-man Ju-388J cockpit section forward, converted to accept the He-219A standard nose gear layout and as documented by a Heinkel Type Black general arrangement drawing for it. The same HL-131V Heckler-Fett quad-mount 4-gun man-tail turret intended for later He-177A versions and the He-177B5, as well as more than one America bomber strategic bomber design competitor. Day bomber and night fighter versions were proposed and metal was cut for the project but, Without the greater than 1,500 kilowatt output Jumo 222 engines getting out of their strictly experimental status, they never flew. Paper projects include the very high-altitude He-219E with a vastly increased wingspan of 28.5 am and EB614 engines, which were apparently an uprated DB603G capable of 1,491 kilowatt. A more reasonable project was the Ha-1/4 TTE or Ha-1/4 211, a design by Wolfgang Ha-1/4 TTE that took a standard He-219 fuselage and tail and added a long span, high aspect ratio wing of 24.55 am to create a fast, high-altitude interceptor. Since this design was also meant to be powered by the ill-fated Jumo 222, it never flew, although work continued on two sets of wings until they were destroyed by Allied bombing. The He-219 was the only piston-engined night fighter capable of facing the British Mosquito on equal terms, given its speed, maneuverability and firepower, but it never played a significant role in the war because the industry failed to make it available in sufficient numbers. Variants: He-219AO, initially used for pre-production aircraft but became first major production version with 1,750 PS-603A engines, 104 built as of November 30, 1944, He-219A1, proposed reconnaissance bomber aircraft. Project abandoned, He-219A2, similar to AO but extended engine nacelles with additional fuel tanks, 1,670 PS-603AA engines, 85 built as of November 30, 1944, He-219A5, planned three-seat night fighter, only some prototypes known to have been built from A2 airframes, He-219A6, planned Mosquito Hunter, stripped-down version of the He-219A2, armed with 420 MG 151/20 s, He-219A7, improved night fighter version, powered by two 1,800 PS-603E engines, 210 ordered as of November 30, 1944, He-219D1, He-219A7 airframes adapted for Jumo 213E engines, 5 known to be delivered in 1945, He-319, an unbuilt multi-role aircraft project entirely unrelated to the He-219. Only having the number sequence in common, He-419, various derived projects culminating in He-419B1 per ranking 1, 6 of which were flown. Use of the He-319 tail, very long span wing of 59 square meters, 220 mm MG 151/20 in the wings and 430 mm Mk 108 in ventral housing. Speed of 422 miles per hour to 44,619 feet. Fleet of LB-79, 2 He-219s built from recovered components in Czechoslovakia during 1950, with one being used as a jet engine test bed. Survivors. When the war had ended in Europe, the U.S. Army Air Force's Intelligence Service, as part of Operation Lusty, took control of 3 He-219s at the Grove base of the 1st Night Fighter Wing in Jutland, Denmark starting on June 16, 1945. These aircraft were made flight-worthy by Watson's Whizzers, and flown to Cherbourg, France. He-219A2 work number 290202 was shipped to the United States with 21 other captured German aircraft on board the British escort carrier HMS Reaper, and was reassembled at Ford Field, Newark, New Jersey. Work number 290202 was given the foreign equipment number FE614, and later T2-614. The aircraft was flown to Freeman Field, Indiana for flight testing along with a second of the 3 He-219s, a He-219A5 prototype, work number 290060 and given the foreign equipment number FE612. The fate of work number 290060 is unknown. Following testing, He-219A2 work number 290202 was then moved to Orchard Place Airport in Park Ridge, Illinois in 1946. It was stored in a vacant aircraft factory and then transferred to the Smithsonian's National Air Museum on January 3, 1949. Finally, The He-219 was created and shipped to the Smithsonian Silver Hill, Maryland storage facility in early 1955. He-219A2 work number 290202 is undergoing restoration in the collection of the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C., USA. Recently the fuselage has been put on display at the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center by Dulles Airport. However, the wings are still being restored at the Paul Garber facility in Silver Hill, Maryland. As of 2012, the completely restored fuselage and tail surfaces, along with the aircraft's partially restored DB603 engines and nacelles displayed nearby, can be seen displayed near the museum's Dornier Do 335 and Aradoa 234, aircraft that accompanied it across the Atlantic over 60 years ago. In April 2012, a previously unknown He-219 was salvaged from the seabed, 100 meters from the beach, north of Hirtshals, Denmark. The remains are in several pieces, but will undergo restoration and eventually be displayed at Aalborg, Denmark. As of late April 2012, no information was available as to the submodel or work number of the aircraft. Operators, a Czechoslovakian Air Force, a Germany, Luftwaffe, specifications. Data from Jane's fighting aircraft of World War II, general characteristics, crew, 2, length, 15.5 meters, wingspan, 18.5 m, height, 4.4 m, wing area, 44.4 miles squared, max takeoff weight, 13,580 kilograms, power plant, 2 Daimler-Benz DB603E liquid-cooled inverted V12 engine, 1,800 picoseconds each, propellers, VDM 3-blade constant speed air screw, performance, maximum speed, 616 km per hour, range, 1,540 km, ferry range, 2,148 km, service. Ceiling, 9,300 m, armament, guns, up to 4 20 mm MG 151 cannons in a detachable fairing under the fuselage, 300 RPG, 2 20 mm MG 151s in wing roots, 300 RPG, 2 30 mm Mk 108 cannons, SRA currency GE Music, 100 RPG. See also, aircraft of comparable role, configuration and era, Bristol Beaufighter NF, de Havilland Mosquito NF, Focke-Wulf Tar 154, Messerschmitt Bf 110, Nakajima J1N Gecko, Northrop P61 Black Widow, related lists, list of military aircraft of Germany, list of aircraft of World War II, references, notes. Bibliography. External links, tour the last remaining Heinkel He 219 Heinkel 219AO, FE 614, before its completed fuselage restoration to display condition articles. Date is 1997, He 219AO Pilot's Manual, in German.